You're watching ABC7 News at 7.
25 to 30 officers hired in a 35-40 day process. That's where mistakes can happen. People can slip through the cracks.
With all the rush to hire school resource officers after Parkland, how did we check out the backgrounds of those tasked to protect our kids? Good evening, everyone. I'm Alan Cohen, and welcome to ABC7 at 7. We'll have more on SRO background checks in a moment, but first, our top stories at 7. Hurricane Michael now has officially been the third most powerful storm to hit the U.S. It has reached the Carolinas as a tropical storm after tearing through Florida and Georgia. So far, Michael is being blamed for killing 6 and leaving nearly 1 million people across 5 states without power. ABC's Elizabeth Herr is in Panama City, where the cleanup is underway.
This is the view from above of Mexico Beach, Florida. Home after home destroyed. This is where Michael made landfall as a monster storm, just shy of a Category 5 hurricane.
Mexico Beach took the brunt. That's probably ground zero.
Across Florida, Michael spared nothing in its path, leaving entire neighborhoods submerged, schools and buildings flattened, trees toppled, crushing homes and knocking down power lines.
As soon as we seen the roof start ripping off over there, we ran to the bathroom and we stayed in the shower. And then once the roof ripped off, it was pulling us out of there. And the wind was like pulling us out of that little room.
Michael also wreaking havoc in Georgia, where the last major hurricane to hit the state was 1898. The true size and scope of Michael's damage now beginning to be assessed, with President Trump promising all resources necessary.
Food is being now, following the hurricane, being now brought in. We have unbelievable large amounts of water and food and everything that people can want.
Meanwhile, neighbors are helping neighbors in Florida. This man in Panama City, despite having lost so much of his own belongings, he is out firing up his grill to feed anyone in need. And the governor here says that's what Floridians do. They stick together during these hard times. That said, he is asking residents, do not venture out just yet. Let the rescuers do their work for everyone's safety. Elizabeth Herr, ABC News, Panama City Beach, Florida.
The man who has led the area's effort to find affordable housing is in need has died. Harvey Vengroff passed away unexpectedly early this morning. Vengroff has brought and transformed old hotels into affordable apartments and brought needed attention to the lack of housing for the area's service workers. In recent years, he has battled with the city of Sarasota over plans to build a housing complex off of Fruitville Road. Just last month, city commissioners voted to allow developers to reapply for the site plan approval without paying additional fees. That led Vengroff to consider the project once again.
Today, the world lost a great man, and a father to a lot of people.
I feel like he lived a very great life, and he was with us and gave us a lot of tools that we need to succeed. Us being his kids and family, and him being gone, I'll miss him.
Harvey Vengroff was 77 years old. Per his wishes, there will not be a memorial service. And Bob, he was a frequent guest on the trapezoid, and we send our prayers to him and his family. Bob joins us now with the First Alert forecast. Bob.
Yeah, great guy, trying to help out as much as he could here. He will be missed. We are looking at this. This won't be missed. This is the remnants, not the remnants, but the tropical storm. It's soon to be extra tropical storm as it heads off into the Atlantic right now. It is bringing heavy rainfall to Virginia, so it's not quite done with its destructive force. Look at that explosion of storms near Roanoke, and it's spreading off to the northeast now, and eventually we'll get it into the Atlantic and re-intensify. The winds are down to 50, but they're expected to get back up to 70 miles an hour as it moves over the Gulf Stream. It is racing off to the northeast, too, at 24 miles an hour. Pressure's come way up since its record pressure of 919 millibars, and you can see that forecast is calling for it to scoot off to the east, northeast. And look at that. It will race all the way over to near France in 5 days from now. It won't be a huge hurricane, but it'll be a storm nonetheless. And as far as the weather headlines, again, Michael moves off into the Atlantic. It set numerous records as far as the most intense storm ever to hit the Panhandle and the strongest storm ever to hit the United States in the month of October. Well, here's what's happening now. We have a cold front. That's right, cold front moving down across parts of Florida. This front will cool us down a little bit tomorrow. You'll notice more so drier air settling in. Then a reinforcing shot of some cooler air comes in tomorrow evening, and that will give us low temperatures to start things off in the 60s in places on Saturday morning. Right now there are a few showers around, and you can see some showers there now into Palmasola, heading off toward Cortez, already there in Cortez, and possibly toward Bayshore Gardens. But that's it, not much. A few showers are expected. And be sure to download our ABC7 weather app. It was very useful during this past storm with videos provided on what Michael was doing as well as tracking the storm. And you can download it now for free. Just go to your app store and look for WWSB First Alert Weather, and you'll need it during this upcoming winter season because we're expecting severe weather over the winter months. Alan?
Thank you. New security guards and police officers are guarding your kids at school this year, but were their background checks they passed tough enough? ABC7's Jess Dowdrick has the story.
Alan, a lot of people from outside of the school districts question how so many school officers and guardians were hired so quickly, and they wonder about the thoroughness of the background checks. But the representatives from Manatee and Sarasota County Schools say their I's were dotted and their T's were crossed. When the Parkland tragedy struck and Florida lawmakers demanded new school security measures, Manatee and Sarasota County Schools took two very different paths to comply.
I protect you, and how do you think I do that?
In Manatee County, 41 school guardians walked the halls of their elementary schools.
Pizza? I missed it.
In Sarasota County, 27 law enforcement officers protect and serve the elementary schools. Both districts hired quickly in an effort to comply with new state mandates. Kurt Lavarello, executive director of the School Safety Advocacy Council, knew that it would be difficult for the agencies to find quality candidates so quickly and says he's heard a lot of skepticism from local law enforcement officers about just how fast Sarasota County hired and trained the officers for their new department.
It does send up some red flags when we're bringing on 30 in a very short period of time. Now, knowing, the state and local averages, typically you're looking at anywhere between, on the very short end, 6 weeks to a long end of sometimes 2-3 months before one officer gets hired. If we're talking about 25 to 30 officers hired in a 35-40 day process, that's where mistakes can happen and people can slip through the cracks.
5 of the officers hired at Sarasota County School District's police force have applied for jobs at the sheriff's office and were turned away. Not for any background-related issues, as Lavarello suspected, but instead for not having all of the qualifications needed to be a deputy. Some never completed the application process. One told the deputies hiring him he had smoked weed once since retiring from law enforcement, which disqualified him. But Lavarello still has other concerns.
Just a cursory Google search put up some red flags of perhaps some past that may or may not have been looked into delicately.
Lavarello is referring to one of the Sarasota school officers that got in trouble while working in St. Petersburg for improperly accessing personal information of a former colleague that was transgender. But despite the speculation of a lack of thorough background checks, Sarasota Schools Police Chief Paul Grochowski promises parents that his officers are first class.
Unless an officer has come through our screening process with flying colors, they are not allowed to be around our children. We won't permit it. The stakes are just too high. We won't risk any person that's not full of integrity and high caliber characteristics that we're looking for.
The department contracted with 2 agencies, Capital Protection and Lemieux and Associates, to do their background checks.
Our officers are screened through a polygraph for deception and honesty. We also do a psychological profile where they do a series of written tests and interviews with a psychologist who determines whether they're best suitable for the environment of working with children in our district.
Chief Grochowski says the background check also looked into the officers' records, of course, plus social media accounts. Speaking of social media, a guardian in Manatee County has already been fired during probation for years-old questionable Facebook posts. To be a guardian in Manatee County, the background checks are a little more lenient than to become a full-fledged officer in Sarasota.
You're screened through the FBI database and as well as Florida Department of Law Enforcement for any and all factors that would prohibit you from being employed, such as crimes against children.
Once the Guardians passed a 2-level screening, they had to pass a drug and psychological test. Social media was also looked at, but legal counsel for the district, Mitch Teitelbaum, says they didn't look back 6 years, but they did look at the Guardian's pages.
And quite frankly, it's a balancing act between First Amendment rights and those voicing their opinion on matters of public concern.
A lot of school districts and law enforcement agencies in the state are struggling to meet this unfunded mandate. In that aspect, Manatee and Sarasota counties are ahead of the game. The officers for Sarasota County School District had to go through a physical test as well. Now, Chief Grohowski says that there were some officers that had come in for interviews and they thought they were great candidates, but then they didn't pass their background tests, so those officers were weeded out. Jess Dowdrick, ABC7, your Suncoast News.
We have the ultimate expertise waiting at the trapezoid, the executive director of the School Safety Advocacy Council and the former head of juvenile justice in the state of Florida. Stay with us.
Planning the right amount of food is hard. The Guestimator makes it easy. Just tell it who's coming and what's for dinner. Then it tells you how much to make. And yes, it even plans for leftovers. Try it at SaveTheFood.com.
Blue 32, Blue 32, hut hut. It's the Gettle Gridiron Challenge. The game's on to sell 2,000 vehicles. 12 teams compete for the #1 spot. Score a great deal at every Gettle dealership. Buy with 0 down. Make no payments for 90 days. Choose from 14 of your favorite brands, all on sale. Who will make it to the end zone? You decide. Rush to a Gettle location near you or visit Gettle.com.
Kettle's got it. Christmas Traditions by Lux Art Silks, where more is merrier. Make your holidays sparkle with style. Browse our amazing showroom, cute collectible cottages, and beautiful Christmas displays. Find the inspiration, selection, and quality you need to deck the halls merry and bright. Christmas Traditions also features the area's largest selection of quality pre-lit Christmas trees, every size, shape, and color, and plenty of decorations to make your home shine for the holidays. Christmas Traditions by Lux Art Silks, where more is merrier. Visit us on New 301, just a quarter-mile north of University Parkway.
Your last chance for 2018 Honda Accords on sale is now during our model year-end sale. Drive new Accords for just $249 a month. Get an Accord, the North American car of the year, for less than the competition. With more standard features than Camry, Honda sensing, multi-angle camera, turbocharged engine, and more. New Accords, just $249 a month. Your last chance for Accords, all on sale this week at your local Honda dealer.
Strong storm, the trees are down, and the lights are out.
No air conditioning, no refrigerator.
I get how strong the storm was, but I need my power back.
We get it. We don't just work for FPL, we're customers too.
After a storm hits, restoring power safely and as quickly as possible is our #1 priority. That's why we never stop preparing. We have the best resources in place so we can be ready to respond in good weather and bad.
Storm season is here. We're ready. Are you?
Recovery from mental and substance use disorders is real.
You can recover.
It's possible. It happens every day.
Never give up on yourself.
Discover hope and help.
The world is a beautiful place again.
Join the Voices for Recovery. For confidential information for mental and substance use disorders, call 1-800-662-HELP.
ABC7, the Suncoast's official Florida lottery station.
Welcome back. It was a mad dash with the best of intentions. In the weeks and months after the Parkland massacre, the state legislature passed the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas School Safety Act, which, among other things, requires a school safety officer in every school. School districts across the state, including Sarasota and Manatee, had to scramble to find and hire qualified candidates. The problem, many times when you rush, it opens the door to mistakes. Case in point, the armed safety guardian in Manatee who was fired after it was discovered after the fact his social media was replete with some pretty darn bizarre conspiracy theories involving the UN, crisis actors, the government seizing guns. You get the drift. Joining us for more are Kurt Lavarello, the Executive Director of the School Safety Advocacy Council, and Anthony Shembri, the former head of juvenile justice in Florida. Our conversation on SRO background checks continues right after we get a check on the first alert forecast with Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan. Bob.
Well, some promising signs, Alan, out there on the beaches. A lot of folks gathering on Siesta Key. The seas are starting to calm down, and there haven't been a lot of reports of any kind of red tide irritant out there. We'll wait and see when the full report comes out tomorrow. And then this is Holmes Beach, up the beaches there. We see a lot of folks out there. They've got their tents up and their beach chairs checking out the sunset tonight. Should be a few brief showers. We're seeing that right now with a little bit of rainfall out there, and the waves have really come down on area beaches. So good news. Still some bad news with Michael as it continues to cause problems in Virginia and throughout North Carolina, although North Carolina less of a problem, but some heavy rainfall throughout most of central and eastern portions of Virginia. Well, a lot of times behind these tropical systems late in the season, you get this wind flowing around it in a counterclockwise fashion, and that brings these cold fronts our way. This is going to be the first one of the season to move on in, and then high pressure will build in behind it, cooling us down. Finally, we'll be in the 60s, something we haven't seen over 125 days, temperatures into the 60s. To start things off on Saturday, don't get your hopes up for tomorrow. It's still going to be pretty warm, although it will be drier. There's the front, and it's producing a few light rain showers. We saw that on the Holmes Beach beach cam, and you can see a little bit of rainfall right there, some showers offshore. These will move through pretty quickly, though. They're not going to stick around all that long, and that rain heading toward, it looks like, US 41 and Cortez, and then down to the south. Not a whole lot going on here in our southern portion of our viewing area. As far as temperatures go, these are current temps. 82 in Sarasota. It's 80 now in Pensacola. If you factor in the moisture content in the atmosphere, it still feels like 93. So it's warm. It's still muggy here, but the temperature remains the same in Pensacola because that's where the dry air is. And the dry air makes it feel more comfortable out there, and that's what we're going to see on Friday. It will be nice, and then more so on Saturday. These are a look at the lows to start things off tomorrow. So I mentioned not very cool here, but cooler in the Panhandle, in the 50s there in Tallahassee and Pensacola. And then as we warm things up, 87, still near average, but it will feel nicer out there with that lower dew point temperature. And then as we move through Saturday, a big round of applause for 67 degrees I saw there quickly in Sarasota. So that'll be a nice start. If it gets there, it's going to be a touch and go. I'm going to be more optimistic and say it is going to get in the 70s, and we'll warm up into the mid-80s by midday on Saturday, so it should be a great day. As far as the infrared satellite imagery goes, we still have Leslie out there, which has been around for 18 days now, and we also have what's left of Nadine still holding on, but it's getting ripped apart by some strong shear, and that area in the southwest Caribbean has a 40% chance of developing. So Michael moves into the Atlantic, and that'll happen tomorrow. A cold front arrives on Friday morning, and a cooler start for Saturday. That's what we're looking at over the next couple of days. I mentioned that area down in the Western Caribbean. This had been at 50% yesterday. It's now down to 40%, and that's a good sign, meaning that it's going to drift off slowly to the west and interact with land, and that will inhibit it from developing, although that is the same area that we saw Michael form a while back, but it's no threat of it coming our way. Northwest winds at 10 knots. Seas will be right around 2 feet. There'll be a light chop out there in the bays and inland waters. The forecast then, a cooler start on Saturday morning, and then we'll stay pretty nice on Sunday morning. We'll start to get back into that moisture and humidity beginning on Monday with a good chance for showers and storms on Tuesday and Wednesday. We'll be right back after this.
Did you know you could get life insurance for less than 32 cents a day? With guaranteed acceptance whole life insurance through TrueStage, you can get up to $25,000 in protection with a single phone call, and you cannot be turned down for any reason. Even if you have health problems or are living on a fixed income, guaranteed acceptance whole life insurance policies could work for you with prices starting at less than 32 cents a day. That's as low as $9.40 a month. TrueStage can help free your family from immediate financial stress when you're gone.
Utility bills, mortgages, car payments, those are a lot of things that can add up pretty fast.
My mom didn't have life insurance and the cost all fell on me. And that's expensive. We're still paying for that.
Yeah, we're still paying for that.
Call 1-800-218-4991. Now, in one phone call, you can help prepare your family with protection amounts up to $25,000. There are no medical tests or health questions, And remember, you cannot be turned down for any reason. In fact, TruStage policies are already protecting over 18 million Americans. And rates are designed to be affordable, starting at less than 32 cents a day. That's as low as $9.40 a month. Plus, your price will never increase and your benefit will never decrease.
When I leave, everything will be taken care of for them.
Call 1-800-218-4991 now for a free, no-obligation quote. TruStage offers plans to fit your budget with prices starting at less than 32 cents a day. Help protect your family from immediate financial burdens after you're gone with guaranteed acceptance whole life insurance through TruStage. Call 1-800-218-4991 now.
The following message is brought to you by Mesobook.com.
People who have been diagnosed with mesothelioma have many questions. How did I get this disease? What are my treatment options? How will this affect my loved ones? You need answers, which is why we offer a free book written by medical professionals who have treated mesothelioma.
Call toll-free at 1-800-777-1366 or go to mesobook.com.
You know, fortunately, this was my first job out of college, so I was able to come back home and work in my hometown. I wore two hats. I was sports director and I was a news anchor. I did that for a few years and then decided to go full-time into news. Well, I love our team here at ABC7. We have a great mix, and it really is a great mix of personalities, of experience that meshes really well into a really strong team. I'm Scott Dennis, and I'm here for you.
Welcome back. We are talking about background checks for school resource officers, and joining us for more are Kurt Lavarello, the Executive Director of the School Safety Advocacy Council, and Anthony Shembri, the former head of juvenile justice in Florida. And gentlemen, I welcome you both. Anthony, let me start with you. And what occurs to me is, if you remember back in the 1980s, after the Mariel boat lift, all the Cubans coming over from Cuba, Castro opened up the prisons there, and Miami was forced to hire hundreds and hundreds of police officers to deal with that, and they were so rushed that the proper background checks were not done, and you had an explosion of police corruption in Miami.
Yes. This is, it doesn't confine itself to Miami. The I-Team in Ohio did a study and found that 40 departments in Ohio hired police officers that had been disciplined or fired from other departments. In Arizona, 418 officers had been hired from different departments that had been disciplined. The chief of police in Sacramento can't even talk about it because it violates the law enforcement officers' Bill of Rights and their privacy. So now we have a conflict here between an officer's Bill of Rights, what you could say about him and his previous employment.
Right. And so, Kurt, I mean, you saw this coming from a million miles away. You saw the rush that Sarasota undertook, creating its own department and hiring these new officers, and in Manatee's case, it was school guardians, and you thought from the outset it was problematic.
Well, yeah, and I'll preface this, Alan, with saying that, you know, Governor Scott didn't do us any favors in terms of the timelines that were passed on to every school district here in the state of Florida. I've never seen, you know, a statute become a law within, I think, 44 days. And the mandates, aside from the hiring, they had to do assessments, they had to do policies and procedures. When you add that on, I call it the not so perfect storm here, because in addition, you had the arguments going on here locally about school-based policing, the sheriff pulling out. So it was really a situation that was ill-advised to move forward with at the time. I'm a big, a solid supporter of school-based policing and school police departments, but as I told the associate superintendent here when on the onset, put the brakes on here, you know, if you can, because you're trying to create a monstrosity of an agency that's going to impact kids in a very short period of time.
And it's not to cast any aspersions on any of the officers that were just hired in Sarasota and the guardians in Manatee. We you know, there have been some, as you said in the story, some Google searches bring up some interesting questions, but we did have the case of the guardian in Manatee, as I made reference to, that really had a very bizarre social media presence, which really raised questions about whether a person like that should be in our schools around our kids.
Well, yeah, and you look at just our local other departments. I think Sarasota Police Department said they look to hire somebody. They can maybe average one officer for 30 days. We did 25, 30 officers in maybe 40 days. And I was in Broward County when those Mariel boat lifts took place, and all those officers were screened. They did backgrounds on those officers. They did checks on them. Unfortunately, they weren't good enough, and it led to the problem we had down there when I was working down in Broward County.
Anthony, basically the cat is out of the bag here. These departments and these school districts have been forced to do that. So what do you do after the fact?
Well, I think you got to take the long view. Number one, it's a training problem. In order to be a certified police officer in the state of Florida, you have to go through 680 hours of training. In order to be a beautician, you need 1,400 hours to be a certified beautician. So I'm skeptical about the training that they're going to have to go through. The attraction here is a former police officer can get hired and you don't have to pay him while he's in the police academy. So I'm skeptical across the country, this rush to judgment and this rush to training. I'd like to see what these curriculums look like. That's important too, on how we're training these people.
All right, we have to take a quick break. We are just getting warmed up. Our conversation on SRO background checks will continue after a break.
I heard about the Dotoli Cancer Center through friends of mine who had been treated here and were very pleased with the treatment.
If there is prostate cancer, we at the Dotoli Cancer Center will find it using 3D color flow Doppler ultrasound.
And that helped precisely identify where my cancer was and some additional cancers that were not found during the biopsy. I would recommend the Dotoli Cancer Center. As a group of human beings, they are unbelievably great.
At Humana, we believe great things are ahead of you when you start with healthy. And part of staying healthy means choosing the right Medicare plan. Humana can help. With Original Medicare, you're covered for hospital stays and doctor office visits when you're sick, but keep in mind you'll have to pay a deductible for each. A Medicare supplement plan can cover your deductibles and coinsurance, but you may pay higher premiums than you do with other plans, and prescription drug coverage isn't included. But with an all-in-one Humana Medicare Advantage plan, you could get all that coverage plus Part D prescription drug benefits. You get all this coverage for a $0 monthly plan premium in most areas, and Humana has a large network of doctors and hospitals. So call or go online today. Find out if your doctor is part of the Humana network and get your free decision guide. Discover how an all-in-one Medicare Advantage plan from Humana could save you money. There is no obligation and the book is free.
To be able to just get my son here and not think about how we will pay for it, it just takes so much weight off of my family. St. Jude allowed me to focus on being a mom to Bryce. And sometimes I'm just in awe of the impact St. Jude has, not only on this community, but the world.
Each day, researchers make discoveries that bring us closer to the moment when all cancer patients can become survivors. Their progress is made possible with the help of clinical trials. Clinical trials are the brightest torch researchers have to light their way towards better treatments. And if you've been diagnosed with cancer, they may be your brightest ray of hope. Speak with your doctor and visit standuptocancer.org/clinical trials to learn more. Together, we can stand up for all of us.
Christmas Traditions by Lux Art Silks, where more is merrier. Make your holidays sparkle with style. Browse our amazing showroom, cute collectible cottages, and beautiful Christmas displays. Find the inspiration, selection, and quality you need to deck the halls merry and bright. Christmas Traditions also features the area's largest selection of quality pre-lit Christmas trees, every size, shape, and color, and plenty of decorations to make your home shine for the holidays. Christmas Traditions by Lux Art Silks, where more is merrier. Visit us on New 301, just a quarter-mile north of University Parkway.
Parkinson's disease is trying to slow us down, but we are strong because we are together. So let's go. Let's reach. Let's fight. Let's move. The Parkinson's Foundation is making life better for people with Parkinson's disease. And now it's time for you to join the movement. Moving Day is here, and we are counting on you. Sign up to walk, because people who move change the world.
ABC7 News at 7 weeknights. You're watching ABC7 News at 7:30.
Welcome back. We are talking about background checks for school resource officers. And joining us for more are Kurt Lavarello, the Executive Director of the School Safety Advocacy Council, and Anthony Shenbury, the former head of Juvenile Justice in Florida. And Kurt, let me start with you. You know, I mentioned the one case in Manatee County, but as you look around the state, have there been any other incidents so far early in this school year of whether it's guardians or SROs that have been problematic?
Well, there are a couple. I saw a couple in the news reports from Broward County. Had one of their guardians removed from campus carrying the wrong gun or something over there. And we're going to see more of them. Again, the whole state is under this mandate. I just spoke to one of the majors from the Palm Beach County School Police. As a matter of fact, he'd said that he was contacted by Sarasota County to follow their policies on games that we had another show on, and hiring practices. So I know they're modeling some of their policies here on there, but they have 70 openings over in Palm Beach County, and that may increase to 120. So I think everybody had good intentions here to want to make sure our kids stay safe. I don't think this is anything intentionally. Everybody wants to keep our kids safe. It's just I have some very deep-rooted concerns when we start knowing that just hiring cops alone is a very critical task. But when we are hiring officers that are going to be working with our children, we want to go that extra step. Absolutely. And I did not like the fact that we're outsourcing that background process, because that puts it on a company that's not even familiar with our state, our hiring practices, our SROs, and it's outsourced to somewhere near Washington, D.C. to come back and tell us whether it's a green light or red light for that officer.
And are are private charter schools using the same companies with the same qualifications as the
it's interesting.
The police department and so forth?
I still run across so many citizens here in the county who don't even know that we have armed civilians in our charter schools here in Sarasota County already. To what degree they've been trained or background checked is anybody's guess. I mean, maybe the school district's done the background checks on them too as well.
And Anthony, you're not only the former head of juvenile justice in Florida, you're a former police commissioner in New York. You are actually the role model for the TV show The Commish.
You had to get that in, right?
Always I have to get that in. What are the red flags that you see here?
I see background checks. I know it's a rush to judgment, but the background checks are important, because each time you interview someone in a background check, it presents leads. Those leads have to be followed up. So what might look like a 2-month investigation might be a 4-month investigation. I couldn't have said it any better than Kurt when he says one thing for police officers, but once we're looking to protect children, as we did in the Department of Juvenile Justice, the background checks are horrendous. And I've fired many, many people and supported the increasing the time for background checks.
But the Sarasota school police chief did say that in addition to the background checks, they are also doing lie detector tests, which would get at some of your big concerns about bringing in people who are going to be around children. I would imagine that's another layer of security or investigation. But does that, is everybody doing it the same way?
It all helps, whether it's a background checks and a lie detector test, things of that sort. It all helps to get to the truth of the background. What kind of, is the person trying to conceal anything?
And again, we don't want to cast aspersions to all the fine men and women that have already been hired here, but obviously both of you have concerns about what possibly could happen in the future, and that begs the question, what do we do now? I mean, the law is the law. And school districts around the state are struggling right now to find enough people qualified to hire them in the first place. So do we stop the process?
No, I'm sorry. I believe that the sheriff's offices around the state should look at their tables of organization. Some of them suffer from the wedding cake table of organization. I think they can cannibalize some of their units and support some of these things for now until their men are relieved with proper officers that have gone through a lengthy background check.
So Kurt, we're going to have a new legislative session that's starting up in January. If you were to make a recommendation to state legislators and to the new governor, whoever that might be, in terms of fixing this one thing, what would it be?
Well, I think you have to mandate certain components of the background check. Right now, the only thing that was mandated that I know of in the current law, the 7026, which has become more popular as the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas Act, was the requirement for the psychological screening. But that can take on many different forms. It can be something as a 2-hour sit-in with a psychologist all the way up to a full screening. Like when I was hired as an officer over in Palm Beach, it took, about a full day and a half of screening. So there's all different variations of that. My concern again goes back to this when you're outsourcing the background, and there have been some shortcuts taken here. Again, it goes back to this rush to get it done. The shortcut we saw, I have people telling me that some of the officers hired here in Sarasota County were actually sworn in at their first day on the job at the school. That's another red flag to me that goes off. If that officer is arriving at the school for the very first time, pinning that badge on at a school, where is there a field training officer process? Now, I know they said they had one, but it's hard to establish a field training officer process when none of those officers have ever worked here before. So it does raise some red flag questions.
Let me just tell you about some of the lengths that I've seen them go through to try to interrupt the background investigation. Lie detector tests, taking a Tuminol, smoking some marijuana, and putting a thumbtack in your shoe to interfere with the galvanic skin response in a lie detector, okay? Things of that sort. So I've seen the lie detector. There's a drug out there where, of course, we test their urine for the presence of drugs. There was a drug out there that you could take that cleanses the system so you don't come up positive for drugs.
Right. So the other thing is that, hiring the SROs or creating your own police force or hiring guardians is not a panacea to the problem that we're facing here in terms of school shootings. Is that not right, Kurt?
No, you're right, because you look back at the history of the past 10 years, a significant number of the school shootings we had officers on campus at the time the shooting took place. Now, I'm a solid supporter of the school police program, as I said, and I even believe school district policing itself can be very, very effective if done right. And I said that even before this county took that on. I said if we move it out of the sheriff's department and out of the police department's hand, create a police department with the right timing, it can be very effective. And I had suggested at the time that why not look at year one, just getting your infrastructure and your foundation in place, hire your chief, get your sergeants, your staff, create your policies and procedures, create your field training officer process, then move into year two about getting your officers on board.
Right, and Anthony, we are in the transitional phase here, and at least in Sarasota County, where the sheriff's office still has a role to play in terms of school safety here, but starting next year, it moves all over to this new police department. It's going to be on their shoulders, and a lot more has to be done.
Absolutely, and I think background checks and hiring the right people, and organizing the effort so that you have single points of entry, single points of exit, okay? The less people you need, more training when it comes to that single point of entrance, I think is important. Having tabletop exercises, so when you do have an active shooting situations, it's not for the first time.
We only have a couple seconds left, but Kurt, I want to ask you, is there any ongoing conversation between your organization and Sarasota or Manatee in terms of what we should be doing to make sure that nothing bad happens here?
No, we've had a number of folks from Manatee County attend our trainings in the past. We just did a statewide training in Orlando, which brought over 1,000 officers together from all over the country. Manatee County did participate in that training. They've been very aggressive to reach out and want to do everything. Unfortunately, I live here in Sarasota County, and I've not seen those folks there.
Bad. All right, we're going to be talking about this more. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us tonight. We want to thank our guest, Kurt Lavarello, the Executive Director of the School Safety Advocacy Council, and Anthony Shembri, the former head of Juvenile Justice in Florida. When we return, USF Sarasota Manatee economics instructor Michael Snipes is here to discuss the recent jobs report in the segment you're not going to want to miss, so stick around.
Blue 32, Blue 32, hot, hot. It's the Gettle Gridiron Challenge. The game's on to sell 2,000 vehicles. 12 teams compete for the #1 spot. Score a great deal at every Gettle dealership. Buy with 0 down. Make no payments for 90 days. Choose from 14 of your favorite brands, all on sale. Who will make it to the end zone? You decide. Rush to a Gettle location near you or visit Gettle.com. Gettle's got it.
This is an important message for anyone with Medicare. You may be eligible for an all-in-one Medicare plan that combines hospital, medical, and prescription drug coverage together with extra benefits that may include dental, vision, hearing aids, and much more. Some of these plans have a $0 monthly premium regardless of your income. That's right. For one low plan premium, or in some cases a $0 premium, you may be able to get coverage for your hospital visits, doctor appointments, prescription drugs, routine dental care, eyeglasses and contact lenses, hearing aids, and possibly more. Today may be the first time you've heard about this type of Medicare plan. The advisors at the Medicare.com helpline are licensed insurance agents who will explain more when you call. Call now to see if you qualify. Call the number on your screen now. Call now to see if you qualify for these benefits. You worked hard for your Medicare. Now is the time for your Medicare to work hard for you. Not affiliated with or acting on behalf of any government agency or program.
All hands on deck. What's up? I want to point out 3 tips for using the home computer more safely. Point away.
First, stop. Make sure your software is up to date and that you've password protected your computer's login and Wi-Fi connection.
Next, think before visiting a site, opening attachments, or clicking on links.
Then connect, knowing you're helping make the web safer for you
and for everyone. Make Stop, Think, Connect part of your daily online routine.
Okay, so what would you bring to my company?
What do you need?
I need problem-solving skills.
I got through high school without a car, a phone, or a computer.
No college degree, though.
Not yet, but life's taught me a lot, and I'm ready for more.
Well, you're not the typical kind of candidate that I hire. But you are exactly what I'm looking for.
Your company could be missing out on the candidates it needs most. Learn how to find a great pool of untapped talent at gradsoflife.org.
Growing up, my mom was afraid of the water, something she did not want me to feel.
So I enrolled Missy in swim lessons.
It changed my life.
Missy Franklin.
And now you can do the same for someone that you love.
There's nothing more precious than your child's well-being.
So act now, before it's too late.
Make us fly! I'm glad I did.
Thanks, Mom. Visit usaswimmingfoundation.org to find, get, or give a swim lesson.
Welcome back. New unemployment numbers indicate the rate of joblessness in the U.S. is at its lowest point since 1969, but some people are not so sure the number is real. And here to tell us more is Dr. Michael Snipes. But before we can begin that, Michael, we do this every week. You're dressing like that?
Are we live here or something? What?
Yeah, I mean, like you're dressing like you're unemployed.
Well, no, I mean, I'm unemployed, but you know, I'm looking for a job. You know, you have to be looking for a job before you can be counted as unemployed, and you know, you got to think about it like this. I mean, all of these job numbers that have come out, you know, for a long time, you know, Trump didn't believe anything that the former president was saying, right? And you know, you got to be counted as, you got to be looking for a job before you be counted as unemployed.
Do you have a job?
I am unemployed, but you know, you got to be looking for a job if you want job benefits. If you want unemployment benefits, you know, you got to feed the monkey. And you know, I look at a lot of people out there, and you know, they've got 2-3 jobs, and that's not going to show up in unemployment numbers. I know good people who have dropped out of, looking for a job altogether, that's not going to show up in the job market numbers. These numbers, they're not everything. I mean, just look at the Germans. Look at Germany, and what's going on in Germany. I mean, yeah, there are
no Germans here.
Well, come on, man. I mean, the Germans for a long time, you could argue that they really tied the EU together, and they're the biggest economy in Europe. They're still really productive, and yeah, they've got tend to have a higher unemployment rate than us, but they've got a really generous unemployment benefit over there,
So they're just looking for a handout.
No, look, man. I mean, we're not trying to scam anybody here, man. What if some human paraquat were to come in and close the factory down? You got to take care of your people, man, and that's might influence unemployment numbers, but you got to take care of your people.
I mean, so do you believe in the numbers?
Well, there's more to it. It's just a number. It's like the stock market. It's just a number. Does it really affect how I live my life? Does it really affect how you live your life? Whether we're down 1,000, up 1,000, gain a job, lose a job. They're just numbers, man. They tell a story.
Michael Snipes, thank you very much for joining us. Michael Snipes joins us every other Thursday to help us understand the economics in a fun way, I think. When we returned, there was quite a scene at the White House today where musical genius, I didn't write that, folks, Kanye West was in the Oval Office with President Trump. We'll tell you what he said between the rapper and the president when we come back. But right now, let's get the final check on our first alert forecast with Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan, who is a genius.
Beautiful out there tonight for the sunset. And another shot here. Patrick getting this with some nice high cirrus clouds around. And it looks as though we will take a break and come.
Excuse me a minute. Hi, Dad. No, don't try to get up.
Hi, I'm Julie, a right-at-home caregiver. And if I'd been caring for Tom's dad, I would have noticed some dizziness that could lead to balance issues. That's because I'm trained to report any changes in behavior, no matter how small. So Tom could have peace of mind.
We'll be right there. We have to go.
Hey, Tom, you should try Right at Home. They're great for us.
The right care, right at home.
Did you know you could get life insurance for less than 32 cents a day? With guaranteed acceptance whole life insurance through TrueStage, you can get up to $25,000 in protection with a single phone call, and you cannot be turned down for any reason. Even if you have health problems or are living on a fixed income, guaranteed acceptance whole life insurance policies could work for you with prices starting at less than 32 cents a day. That's as low as $9.40 a month. TrueStage can help free your family from immediate financial stress when you're gone.
Utility bills, mortgages, car payments, those are a lot of things that can add up pretty fast.
My mom didn't have life insurance and the cost all fell on me. And that's expensive. We're still paying for that.
Yeah, we're still paying for that.
Call 1-800-218-4991. Now, in one phone call, you can help prepare your family with protection amounts up to $25,000. There are no medical tests or health questions. And remember, you cannot be turned down for any reason. In fact, TrueStage policies are already protecting over 18 million Americans. And rates are designed to be affordable, starting at less than 32 cents a day. That's as low as $9.40 a month. Plus, your price will never increase and your benefit will never decrease.
When I leave, everything will be taken care of for them.
Call 1-800-218-4991 now for a free, no-obligation quote. TrueStage offers plans to fit your budget with prices starting at less than 32 cents a day. Help protect your family from immediate financial burdens after you're gone with guaranteed acceptance whole life insurance through TrueStage. Call 1-800-218-4991 now.
Recovery from mental and substance use disorders is real.
You can recover.
It's possible. It happens every day.
Never give up on yourself.
discover hope and help.
The world is a beautiful place again.
Join the Voices for Recovery. For confidential information for mental and substance use disorders, call 1-800-662-HELP.
Watch Suncoast View weekdays at 9 a.m. on ABC7.
Well, good evening, everyone. Here we go. Second round. Tatum Ridge Elementary from the soccer field there. Lydia and Arthur. I don't know who took the photo, but that's what it came in as. A nice shot there. We have a front moving through. A weak cold front. This is the first one. It's going to possibly bring us down into the 60s. Not tonight, but it looks like Saturday morning to start things off. And a brief shower is not out of the question as we look at that weak front moving on through. This has weakened considerably as it moves off to the northeast, but still bringing 50-mile-an-hour winds and also some heavy rainfall into Virginia and northern sections of North Carolina. Well, the front I mentioned is still just to our north, but we have this front moving on through. Cooler weather will move in, really drier air for the most part tomorrow, and then we'll get a little cool shot on Saturday morning. Won't stick around all that long as high pressure will reposition itself once again to the east of the state, which will bring us that east to southeasterly wind flow, and that happens more so on Monday, and we'll start to get back into that humidity. But it'll be a nice weekend, a real nice weekend. We got a lot of events taking place. Obviously, the Sarasota Firehouse Chili Cook-Off is taking place. On top of that, we have many other events outdoors. This line of showers you see right there, not all that impressive on the radar imagery. We've got a few brief showers you can anticipate. They'll be very isolated, to say the least. As they move on through, you could see some moderate rainfall for a short period of time. And then that front will eventually get hung up down to our south. Temperatures now, low 80s here, even 80 degrees in Pensacola, but it feels much warmer here, 89. And because of the lack of moisture in the air, it feels pretty much what it is in Pensacola. Well, in the tropics, we talked about this earlier, we still have Leslie floating around out there in the Atlantic, spinning, not knowing sure which way she's going to go. It could go off to the east here. It could dive to the southeast and stay as a hurricane and move back toward the west in time. And then we have what's left of Nadine heading to the west. And this area of disturbed weather in the western portion of the Caribbean is not really showing any signs of development. It looks like it's going to move into Central America, so should not be a big concern, but we'll have to keep an eye on it. That's a favorite area for development. The next storm up is Oscar, followed by Patty. Let's see if we can get there, huh? I don't think we will. I think Oscar more than likely would be our last storm, but it's been an unusual season. We'll see. 82 degrees, so it feels like 91 out there. And as far as the high goes today, it warmed right to the average of 86, the record 94, set back in 2009. Hopefully we're done with the 90s for a little while anyway. 3,900ths of an inch of rainfall at the Sarasota Bradenton Airport, below for the month and for the year. Well, satellite and radar picture showing clear skies over much of the central U.S. and into the Midwest. Things are looking really nice there as high pressure is coming back into play. That high will dominate our weather over the weekend, bringing with it some cooler temperatures. Look at these chilly temperatures right now. 36 in Minneapolis. It's 48 in Chicago and 57 in Cleveland. Highs tomorrow only in the 40s in St. Louis, Kansas City, Chicago, and Minneapolis. We'll still be warm here, though. Mid to upper 80s expected. Cooler weather on into Sunday as far as the high goes. And northwest winds at 10 knots. Seas will be right at 2 feet. The extended forecast then, cold front doesn't really cool things off all that much. 30% chance for showers on Sunday. Better chances come early next week. Alan?
Bob, thank you. Checking primetime headlines, it was a wild scene at the White House today. Rock stars and country music stars were all in the Oval Office with President Trump, but it was one of the world's most well-known rappers who stole the show. ABC's Karen Travers tells us what Kanye West and President Trump talked about.
This was perhaps one of the most unusual White House photo ops ever. President Trump and Kanye West talking policy and why they're big fans of each other. It was a bizarre scene in the Oval Office.
I love this guy right here.
President Trump at the historic Resolute desk. Seated across from him, Kanye West. The rap artist said some of his friends tried to scare him into not wearing that red Make America Great Again hat.
It was something about when I put this hat on, it made me feel like Superman.
The musician and fashion designer delivering a long, rambling, profanity-laced speech. He touched on a wide range of topics, including education, gun violence, jobs, manufacturing, even his own mental health issues. He says he was misdiagnosed with bipolar disorder and is just sleep-deprived. West came prepared. He tried to sell Mr. Trump on the idea of a new presidential plane.
This right here is the iPlane 1. It's a hydrogen-powered airplane, and this is what our president should be flying in.
And while he didn't rule out making a leap into politics, West said he wouldn't challenge President Trump.
Is this a future presidential candidate?
Could very well be.
Only after
Could very well be.
2024.
West even got into a back and forth with White House reporters and seemed to enjoy it.
I don't answer questions in simple sound bites. You are tasting a fine wine. It has multiple notes to it.
President Trump, for the most part, just let Kanye West talk, nodding in agreement while the musician spoke. The president called Kanye's speech pretty impressive and asked, "What do you do after that?" Karen Travers, ABC News, the White House.
Good question. And West wasn't the only musician in the White House today, with President Trump signing into law a sweeping bill to reform part of the music industry. The president held a signing ceremony for the Music Modernization Act at the White House. Singers and musicians from across genres attended the signing. They praised Trump and Congress for doing what they say no other administration did.
When Mr. Bush was in, we couldn't get it done. When we had Mr. Obama in, we couldn't get it done. But we got it done with this man.
But this is a great start to protect songwriters, producers, engineers, the unsung heroes behind many of these songs that go out there.
We all know how divided our country is. We see it every single day. And to see that music is the one thing that can get unanimous consent.
The Music Modernization Act includes a guarantee that songwriters and artists receive payments for pre-1972 recordings, as well as for improved payments for works played on streaming services. And that's all the time we have for this evening. I'm Alan Cohn. Thanks for joining us. Have a good night.